Yeah.
Yeah, no, and speaking of Twitter, I think that's where you really the only interactions we've had, I think, Tom, and yeah, were during like in the heat of all of the Trump stuff and all of that. Like, I've really appreciated all you've done, and you always sort of came, when shit was going down. I mean, even when it wasn't me, it was like you came to people's defenses and you talked about it. And I know you did everything in your. I want to hear about a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm fascinated about this, about the journey with the Mark Burnett tapes. And for those who don't.
Yes,
know,
please.
but for those who don't know, Mark Burnett, he produced Celebrity Apprentice, and there's all of this raw footage that's obviously out there. And given what we know about Donald Trump on mic, one can only, and we've already heard anecdotally all of that kind of stuff that he did off mic, and not that any of it apparently mattered, but it might have mattered early. He inured us, like he could have done some good. But tell me about that journey for you.
Well, I've known Donald Trump for 40 years, and he was, he'd come on my sports show. Roseanne and I did an HBO special at one of the Trump Castle or something, like 1989 or something. And, I always thought, well, he's a funny, interesting guy. That guy, he's a guy that, when we were getting ready to do the special, he said, listen, I have a friend who will load us at Duesenberg. I think that's what it's called, the big car, the old, and I'll get it, whatever it costs, I'll pay for it. And he goes, well, what I'll do is I'll drive it on stage and be Roseanne's chauffeur. Well, then I thought that's hilarious. And now he's in the special. And then, 2 months later, I get a call from somebody at HBO. They're like, the guy that packed up that car and drove it 6 hours to Atlantic City never got paid by Donald Trump. And so I was like, we gotta, that's a hilarious story. We got to pay that guy. We did. And then, he wanted me to be on The Apprentice. He call him and Mark Burnett call. And he's very, it's not that I didn't need the money, because they do offer, you get $250,000, you get a script deal, you get whatever. And he is very, but I kept thinking, well, are you really his apprentice? And do you have to do that? But I always gave it serious consideration. And, but I never did it. When this stuff started, I knew about his outtakes. I had a sports show called Best Damn Sports Show, period. And my clip producer, brother, was the executive producer of The Apprentice.
Wow.
Eric Van Wagenen and his brother. And, clip producers on sports shows, man, they cut stuff together. And so there was a reel, of sort of a Christmas reel of Trump, some of the worst of Trump. And the one brother, for the last 10 years, he was the last guy to speak to Trump before every take. And, because it's a game show, legally, because of the thing that in the 50s where they had a game show scandal, there's a federal law. They have to film the host from the time he gets out of the car until the time he gets back in the car at night. And, they had 18 cameras going, and they had it mic'd up. And so you could anybody would eventually do stuff, but he was just so much worse. So he's going to run for president, which I thought, this is just bananas. And another thing, there's so much overlap with me and Trump that I can't be that good of a person. But another buddy, Chuck LaBella, had gone to Russia with him in 2013 for the Miss Universe. He worked on The Apprentice and Miss Universe. He was Trump's body man. And when he got back in 2013, he's like, holy shit, you won't believe what he did. This happened, and don't tell this with Putin, this and that.
Yeah.
And Putin said he wants him to be president. He really went to his head, all this shit. Well, then suddenly in 2015, when he's like, I'm going to run for president, you're like, well, I call up these guys. Hey, we got to talk about that publicly. We got to do this and that. And so I couldn't get any cooperation. So I did. And like with the body man guy, who was a very nice guy.
Yeah.
Trump, he complained about me going public to Trump, and Trump had Michael Cohen called and hired a lawyer for the guy, who, I guess they hired this one lawyer for everybody, for Stormy Daniels, for Karen, and so that was their way of, so that guy went completely to the dark side. So as they're
Yeah.
getting ready to do this thing, I'm calling Mark Burnett, and I saw Mark Burnett over at Arnold Schwarzenegger's holiday party. I go, I need to, for the country, we need to hear those tapes. He goes, Tom, listen, number one, he shows me a picture on his phone. It's his kid. He goes, he was the ring bearer at Trump's wedding. I just want you to know, my son. And he said, nothing. Trump wants the tapes. You want the tape. I'm not going to give them to anybody. So I think it's kind of even. And before I left that, the executive producer guy, that Wagner guy, was there, and I kind of got into it with a couple people that I really respected there.
Yeah.
That said, Hillary is the more like Hitler than Trump. Like the way she's, and it was almost like a full on fist fight. And then this, to his credit, the one Van Wagner brother got between me and a bunch of people and said, I know Trump better than everybody in this room, and he is the worst human being I've ever met in my life. And then I was like, that's my exit. I got to get out of here.
That's the blow to the
Thank you.
scene.
Good night. That's
I
it.
go outside and there's valet, and there'd been an accident, and I'm waiting for my car. I'm like, I just want to get out of here. And Clint Eastwood comes up behind me and he goes,
Jesus.
Trump is a bonehead. He goes, the worst thing about getting elected mayor is then you got to be mayor. Like, it was a nice moment. I mean,